Welcome ladies and gentlemen, it's Iceblade here with another YouTube video. Today we're doing some cleaning and maintenance of your PC. I'm going to focus specifically on the GPU as we're going to remove the heatsink and reapplying new thermal paste. I'm also going to go over some of the basic cleaning of your PC and time frames that I work by. Now, for the normal cleaning of your PC, there is no set in stone rule for when you must do it. I always say be guided by your hardware, in the sense that open your side panel, look inside, check your fans for dust buildup, check the surfaces for dust buildup, or if you have a side panel that allows you to view the inside of your PC, then monitor it that way. And if you see a lot of dust buildup, obviously clean out your PC. I do it once a month. That seems to hit the sweet spot for my dust build-up cycle. But my PC is basically next to an open window. I do live in a dusty area, and the dust does accumulate naturally that way. You could also, if you are not in a particularly dusty area, but you find that you build up dust fast, it could be that your fan setup in your PC is wrong, where you just allow air in and it creates like a vacuum effect inside your PC where it just sucks in air and sucks in the dust and then deposits it inside. So look at your fan setup, so you allow air to come in and allow air to go out. Now basically what I do is I just remove my side panel, look at where dust is, and if I see there's some dust buildup, I would take my PC outside and then use a blower or strong air or something and blow out the PC. I would not suggest using a hairdryer. I've seen people do that. Hot air, I don't like it near my hardware, so I always try basically everything you do is to cool down your PC, so I don't see the sense in then torching it with a blow dryer. So cool air, blow it out. So basically my side panel uses thumb screws, so even if it doesn't, I have some extra. So normally when I get a PC, if it doesn't have the thumb screws, I use screwdriver, take those off and put in some thumb screws, because it just makes it so much easier. You don't want your PC to be a hassle or maintaining it being a hassle. So your side panels normally just slide backwards and then it would come out. My side panel has a fan inside, so it has a wire that you can't stretch that far, but it can plug out. I'm not going to do that now. And then when you're inside, my PC is nice and clean, because like I said, I do this regularly. Dust buildup can also create heat, and it can also damage your fans where the dust would get stuck to some of the blades. What I have is a blower, nice strong air, so I know if this was dirty I would create like a dust. Basically, you would just do that. What I do is when I do apply air that's forced, is just put your finger on the fan that you're blowing it at. So the fan don't go spinning like crazy with your blower. It will overwork the fan, and the accidents could happen where the fan blade hits something and you break off a fan blade. I've seen people do that with GPUs so many times. So when you blow at a fan on your GPU in your PC, just put your finger softly on one of the blades. Don't force it and break it by pressing on it, but just stop the fan from moving, blow out the air. If you haven't done this and now decide to do this, and your fans do have like gross amounts of dust build up on it, just take like an earbud. I normally have these normal earbuds, and just softly, again, don't use force when it comes to hardware. I mean, basic sense here. I mean, just hold on to your fan blade and softly work off the dust, and when it's loose you can still take the blower and then again holding onto the fan just blow off the dust that you've now loosened up. Or I always have this soft bristle brushes and just holding onto a fan, just softly remove. It's not that you're actually cleaning it, it's like you're just loosening up the dirt, brushing it off softly and then applying your blower or whatever to get the dust off and get the dust out of your PC. Normally what I would suggest also is opening the back side panel so that when you blow things out and it doesn't blow into something and come back, or blow and go sit at the back of the panel or the back of your motherboard. So just opening up both sides, create the airflow so that it leaves the PC, takes the dust and go away. The next thing that you would normally do, the GPU, you would just normally, you have these power plugs and they have clips. You just press on the clip, pull or apply the amount of force you need to get it out, and then they do have screws that holds the GPU in place, that it doesn't create a certain amount, because the new GPUs really bulky things, and if it doesn't have a screw at this back plate, then it would create a sort of like a pressure on your motherboard, and it could break or snap or do damage in any way. So mine takes 2 screws. I've seen people when they have 2 screws just apply 1. It would be sufficient. Okay, and then always a GPU on the motherboard at the back of the slot it fits into. There's a sort of a clip. They all differ from motherboard to motherboard, but as soon as it slots in, it will clip up and hold it at the back, and then the screws in the front, and just fasten it. Mine just has a clip that presses up to release it. I'm just going to turn the PC on its side, just having to check at the back quickly that I don't smash anything accidentally. Okay, so I took out the GPU, I also removed the computer. There was something actually behind it, so just took it away to get some space, and your GPU should look something like this. Basically, some of them have a back plate like this one does. It's the R9290. It has a back plate, but doing this so many times already, I've seen that it's not necessary actually to remove the back plate. You do need to remove the screws of the back plate, because some of them do go through to the part that we're actually removing, the heatsink. So it has a lot of screws at the back, and normally one of the screws does have a sticker on it, where if you break that sticker, then you basically void your warranty. So just be aware of that. I would not suggest you do this type of procedure with a brand new GPU or a GPU that is still under warranty. I would suggest that you then basically make use of your warranty. If you do have issues, that you just return it to the manufacturer and get your card sorted out that way. The reason I'm doing this is I have seen some rise in temperatures where I would game at a certain temperature, and basically a year later now my temps are higher doing the same thing that I did. So that's also, like I said earlier, be guided by your hardware. So normally people would say do the thermal paste replacing yearly. I've heard people saying doing it once every 2 years. I would also suggest once every 2 years seems fair, but be guided by your hardware. Look at it. If it's running, say, 80 degrees Celsius, your game's last summer, and now this summer it's doing it at 90 or 95, then something is not right there. Or if I see the temps are still the same, there's no change, it's not running hot suddenly, I would just leave it like that. Then it seems that it's happy. Leave it. There was a saying that was, if something is not broken, don't fix it. With computer hardware, I actually live by that, because you can make a mistake, easy mistake, just doing screw driving, something slip and you push on the soldering or you break off a cap or something, that happens. So if it's giving you the same temps it gave you the day you bought it, why do this for maybe getting the same temp again, or maybe going down 1 or 2 degrees? So my degrees did go up. I was feeling that this is something I basically need to do and just make a video to show other people it's not hard. I have done this before on this card, so it's nothing strange for me. It didn't damage it. I feel confident that it would be working after doing this. So basically we just remove all the backplate screws. There's always 4 screws. That's the main screws on a card like this, and those are the one that's actually around the die of your GPU, the GPU brain, if you can put it like that. So those come off in a certain pattern and go back in a certain pattern. It would always be crisscross, if you could call it that, but the pressure it applies to your GPU die, I would suggest doing it crisscross from top left to bottom right, and then top right to bottom left. I think I might speed up this process when placing the video. If I don't, I'll seem like I'm doing it fast, something like that, I don't know. Just imagine me going very fast, but you should not try to do this as fast as you can. It's take your time type procedure. Because if you do this in a rush, like I said, you damage something. GPUs in a gamer setup normally tend to be the most expensive part of your computer. Mine is spring loaded. I think most cards are actually spring loaded, so you don't put too much pressure on the card. I've seen a guy with a 2080 Ti that actually had spacers in there, no, sort of like a rubbery spacer, not a spring, so it does differ. Okay, like I said, the back plate, don't take that off, or if it's your first time, and this specific card has like a sticker. It's not a thermal pad though, it's very, very sticky, so the first time I wanted to take everything off, it was kind of stuck there. It took some force actually, which you're not supposed to do with hardware, like I said, but then I could get in there with the air and blow it out and cleaned it off with a nice non-static cloth. Hardware, these type of motherboard setups don't like static actually, so there's always the fan cable that plugs in on these boys. Yeah, mine is on the side, which is very nice. I've seen some more to the middle, which cause a problem. You need to be careful when removing this. Okay, mine is nice and soft because I did do this previously, but when you remove it, just very slowly, so you could get to the plug for your fan, and then the fan, just basically get that off. Okay, if you have the fan loose, then that is your, now it's so slim, it went on a diet. That is your basic, your GPU, or the brain, or the whole working compartment of your GPU. The meaty part of this whole setup is basically the cooler. Mine has 2 fans, some have 3, some have 1, but this is the cooler, your heat pipes, and that is the section that goes over your GPU die, and that is the section that is mainly doing the cooling, because the heat goes there, and then the pipe disperses it through these fins. The fan blow over the fins, cool off the liquid that's inside here, or the gas, some is gas, and then it's a working system. It continuously does that. In most of your GPUs you would find like this is like a purpley pinkish sort of thing, but it's thermal pads. If you can, try to save those. Otherwise you would end up having to buy some and reapplying them. If you have them, it's great. Then just clean off the whole setup, clean out everything, and then apply your new pads. I don't do that. I just try to softly remove the dust and then using the pad, and that works. It's not that bad. The dust and the old thermal paste, you could just take like a anti-static cloth there. You get cleaning alcohol because it basically evaporates very fast. I have some cleaning benzene which also evaporates very, very fast, but you can just go over that section. Try to avoid the thermal pads. Mine has pads there as well, which is more to blue, and one there, so I always try avoiding those because the alcohol or whatever you use to clean it will actually, I think, damage it. I really think it would damage it. Okay, I'm just going to save you the hassle of watching this whole cleaning process.
One eternity later.
Okay, so I'm back. I removed all the thermal paste. Wasn't that hard actually, because it was kind of still fresh. Like you could see, it's nice and clean. There's no issue. Also, the thermal pads still look in a very good condition, so I don't have to do anything about them. The card itself, the die is so clean it looks like a mirror now, so that is cool. It's clean, and we can apply the new thermal paste. Now, applying thermal paste brings up another topic and actually caused fights between friends, like me and my buddy one day. So the applying method is the issue there. Some people say bean method, other people say a P method, and a line method, and a spiral method, and I actually have an old thermal paste applier. It looks like a credit card, but it has like a sort of sticker that has the correct width according to this, and you put it on and then you apply the thermal paste and even it out, and it's a nice professional job like you get with the manufacturers and like with basically this AIO of mine. It's nice, it's square, it looks so cool. So that is the tool for that. But we ended up wasting so much time that day that we applied the P method, put back the heatsink, put it in the PC, ran a benchmark, took it out, the line method, the spiral method. It went on for many times. Eventually we couldn't see a difference between the temps when running the benchmark. We ended up testing further, putting up less thermal paste, putting up more thermal paste, and at that point it was the only difference in temperature we could see is when you apply way too much thermal paste or you apply way too little thermal paste. So it doesn't matter which method you choose, when the heatsink and the die meet each other, the pressure there would push out the thermal paste, and it's going to end up the same. When you remove the heatsink, they all look the same when we did it that day. So the only other thing that's very important when doing the thermal paste is, like I said, it will spill over some of it. Even with the manufacturers, when you clean it out the first time, you would see some spillage on the sides of the die. Now there is soldering and some circuitry around the die, so you don't want any thermal paste that's conductive. So if you're applying thermal paste to this GPU, do non-conductive thermal paste, because some of them are conductive. Not all thermal pastes are created equally, if you can put it like that. So get non-conductive thermal paste and don't skimp actually on this. If you could get a good decent thermal paste that's non-conductive.
Just touch these two strands together and the Daleks are finished. Have I that right?
Okay guys, so the maintenance and the cleaning is basically finished. My GPU is assembled and it's back in the case. We'll just do the normal benchmarking to just see if the temps came down, what the situation is with the card now.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So this is Iceblade here again. Right, we got our GPU back in our system. As you can see, it's running. So this is basically the conclusion of our maintenance and applying thermal paste and stripping our GPU. So after that, I did some overclocking in MSI Burner. This is the program in the back here. It says lighting. That's MSI Burner. You can do safe overclocks in that. So I did a reasonable overclock there. Pushed it in some gaming. No issues there. I did benchmark like Heaven and 3D Mark and all that. No issues. It completed all the tests and heat actually looked very good, because normally I was going to 95 and system crash. So I set my MSI burner to 95 degrees maximum. So when it reaches that, it will not throttle down. It will basically shut down to protect the GPU itself. And then system being off, not getting power, the GPU will cool down faster. So I've also done custom fan curves to get more fan speed on it when really pushing it. And it is really positive. After I've done the thermal paste, I have not had one crash due to reaching the 95 degree threshold, and even being overclocked. Previously I could not do that. So overclocked, it's running smooth. Now the serious piece of demonware on my PC that you can see is Furmark. You don't need to warn me about Furmark. I exactly know what this is. I have used it when we need to punish a GPU and see where it's failing, you know, because this is not a benchmark. This is not a play around test. This is a serious stress test. You need to know what you're doing. If you're someone that just buys the biggest and fanciest GPU and slots it into your PC and play games at massive FPS, do not do this. You really need to know your hardware to actually play around with programs like this. It has a lot of settings you can set. It shows that it's currently running at 55 degrees or 57 actually. So if nothing is running on my PC, it would be idle at 50. So now we're running recording software, we're running MSI Burner, and we're running Furmark basically. So that is a 7 degree rise we have now. So, but that is not an issue yet for me. So what this program does is it completely stresses out your GPU. It puts it through immense stress, and then your CPU can go from 0 to maximum in a few seconds. So on this Furmark, with my, before I did the thermal paste, I could not even reach 1 minute and I would hit 95. So I would like to see how it goes now with the new thermal paste applied. So you're going to go with me first view on Furmark. So if I go black, you know we failed. So this is that serious. It will push your GPU to its max in few seconds, and if it can't handle it, your system will crash. So if we click on GPU test, stress test basically, it will give you this message that you need to understand, because it says caution with a lot of asterisks. It needs to highlight, read this, and it says Furmark is a very GPU intensive application, and you may experience some instabilities or system shutdown. So that's what happened to me. This thing is really serious. And then it says in all capital letters, do the burn-in test at your own risk. So you can't blame Firmark if you basically press go at the bottom here, because they warned you. So if you burn your GPU and you burn down your PC, you have been warned, and I'm warning you as well. Don't say I said use this program because I said no. Don't use this program if you don't understand what this program is. It also says the possible causes for instability, and that is why I basically use this program, because it tests certain things that I need to see in my GPU. The first thing would be too high of an overclocking setting. So if I do an overclock and I run Firmark and it crashes, I know the setting is not stable, because I have overclocked and I've run Heaven and I've run all the benchmarks and it goes through. It's nice. You can do the benchmarks in games as well. It goes through. But coming to Firmark, boom, it crashes, meaning that that is not a stable overclock, and my GPU is not happy actually with that overclock. The second thing is insufficient power supply. So this is a very awesome thing it does. While pushing your GPU to 100%, because it does that, your GPU is going to ask for the full amount of power it needs to sustain that level. Now, if your system wasn't balanced and you didn't have the correct GPU match with a power supply, this will show you. Listen, boom, system crash. You don't have enough power to run that GPU at max setting. So you would get away with running games and stuff, but this is going to show you, no, you need power, boy. Then number 3 would be problems with your VGA cooler. So this is actually why I'm doing it, because now I want to see if I still get that heat issue, if I can still not reach a minute in Firmark without hitting 95. So display this warning, yes. And then if you click on go, we're going to go into GPU burning application. So if I go black, you're seeing this with me for the first time, so then we basically failed, and I need to get additional cooling on that GPU, I suspect. So clicked go, and there is the eye of death, like we call it. Now it's not an eye, it's like a fur ball, because it's called Firmark, but the textures in this application is extreme, because the textures that's looking like it's passing us on the screen, like we're going through it, that is a different texture. It's twisting, it's different colors. The fur ball, which I refer to the eye, is also a furry, it's multiple textures. Inside of that ball is other textures. This thing is serious. If you look at the top part there, it shows it's running the burn-in test at what resolution, and then the time it's running, it's currently at 46 FPS is 117, its minimum was 113, its maximum was 118, it's averaging at 117. It shows my GPU's clock speed and memory speed, and it shows that the GPU is running at 100% stress. The fan currently is only at 75, which is worrying. I would suspect that when we passed 80, it should actually bump up to 100%. So, okay, the fan is still like chilling. It doesn't seem an issue here, but just you can see at the graph at the bottom, that thing boosted straight up. It went from 56 was the minimum, and it's currently at 85, and we passed a minute and 32 already. So it means my thermal paste application was actually successful, because I could not reach a minute in this test without hitting 95. So currently we're going for 2 minutes and we at 86. So this thing would keep stressing your GPU. The heat would keep piling up. It's not going to stop until something burns. So I normally either set it at a quick time to test 2 minutes or something like that. It's already 2 minutes. I'm going to stop this test currently. I think this is a success. I mean, I surpassed a minute without reaching 95. I'm currently at 2.5 minutes without reaching 95.
A few moments later.
4 minutes, which was 2 minutes longer that I actually wanted to do the test. But yeah, curiosity got the better of me. Something that I learned through that is that my fan curve that was set to actually protect the GPU at a certain temperature did not do that. It waited until the GPU was already kind of close to maximum, and then it was like, oh crap, we need to try and protect this GPU now. And then it went not even full blast, it went like 93%. Let's give it around there and blow, and then it basically stops it at that temperature. But now Firmark's still pushing maximum pressure and stress on your GPU, and the fans would just stop it from going further, but it will maintain that heat on your GPU. So that's why I said I don't like running Firmark too long, and neither should you. So I kind of pushed it a little too long there, but system did not crash, and I think that is a huge success then. So my thermal paste made a difference in the sense that my PC is not crashing. It does not reach its threshold anymore. I can game without any issues, without any PC shutdowns or stuff like that, and that is why I basically did this. If you have any issues with your GPU, if you have any heat issues with your GPU, and it is not brand new, it's not a month old, I would say if it's older than a year or maybe 2 years, due to extensive gaming and due to the huge temps that card runs, your thermal paste or the factory applied thermal paste, they don't seem to last that long. Would kind of be dried up and bad. So I would suggest after a year of intense gaming, or 2 years at least, look at removing your cooler and reapplying decent thermal paste. I would link to that thermal paste I used. I can really recommend it, and it's non-conductive, so that's what you need. Good thermal paste that's non-conductive, and you do this process. It's safe to do, except when you go all crazy and try to rip off things or put in metal objects and pry it off when it's stuck, because remember, if that thermal paste is aged and old, it can stick like glue. So don't wedge things in there, don't force it or start pulling with a crowbar or something on it. Just try to get it off as naturally as possible. Patience, and try not to destroy your GPU. So all the warnings out there, this is at your own risk. If you do this process wrong, don't blame anybody but yourself. So the basics is good thermal paste, non-conductive. Don't use the force.
May the force be with you.
Force on your GPU, and common sense. Don't rip out the things out of your motherboard. There is a clip holding your GPU in place. There is screws that's holding your GPU in place, and there's plugs attached to it for power. So remove those things, and the rest of the process, like I said, stay calm. It's going to be stuck there because it's been aged like that, and then you're fine. So if there's any questions on this process before you start it, or you've done it and done it differently, or would like to assist other people, or have some info I did not share here, please hit it up in the comments down below so we can get chatting there. I can't think of anything else currently, so if you haven't yet, please hit subscribe. We do need to get more people on here so I can see in which direction we should take the channel. And if this is helpful, or you found this helpful, please hit like. Thank you for watching, guys.